Hi everybody, welcome to the Special Sunday Family Arts. My name's Austin Kwasinski, and today we're going to be taking a look at pop art and making some of our own colorful art pieces today. I'm really excited about this one, guys. We're going to talk about some of the pop art movement. We're going to talk about some of the artists that happened, and also what they were thinking about when creating this type of art. So some of the materials that we're going to need today, guys, we're going to have a tracing paper or a light box. This is to put our object multiple times and have repetition. We're going to use multimedia paper. I have 11 by 14, but any size that can work, but we're going to just divide it by 6. So as long as we can do that, that will work. We also need a pencil and eraser. This is to actually draw our lines and stuff like that for our objects, and a black marker. This is to highlight and make it really pop with the black. And to color it, we can use oil pastels or type of felt pen. So it's totally up to you guys what you want to do. So let's get started, shall we? So the pop art movement, let's talk about it. So the pop art movement was happening in London and New York in around the 1950s. And this was kind of a call and response to the abstract expressionism that was happening during that time. And they used images that are common in popular culture and in today's culture. So things were mass produced or celebrities and stuff like that. That's what Andy Warhol really focused on. And this is an example of one of his works, which is the Marilyn Monroe portraits. So he liked portraits of celebrities like this. He also did Campbell's soup cans. And by doing this, he took a photograph or an image of Marilyn Monroe and actually copied it over with silkscreen and chose bright colors to really accentuate and bring forth colors that really pop. And it's exciting and vibrant to look at, which is really cool. He also did a lot of album covers and stuff of celebrities that had famous albums like that. And then also everyday objects as well. Some other artists that are known as today are Takashi Murakami, Jeff Koons, Damien Hirst, and also Cause as well. So you can look up some of those artists. They got some great stuff. They're a little bit more current. And let's talk about our actual project, shall we? So I already got a piece of paper here. So this is 11 by 14. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it into, so there's at least 12 inches. And then we're going to divide it in half like this. And then also each one of these squares are going to be 4 inches as well. So we're going to cut it into thirds. So I'm going to do it on this guy. We can cut it here. Let's get out my trusty scissors here and just cut along that line like so. There you go. This should be a good paper. And then so if I'm going to measure this out, I'm going to do it pretty lightly. I'll do it on the other side just so we don't have the markings on. But I just wanted to show you if you're doing this at home, just so you can see it a little bit. Alrighty. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure out 4 inches. So we're going to do 4 and 8 going across like so, and then same thing for right here on the bottom here, 4 and 8. So if you have a smaller piece of paper, you can do this with the smaller size. You can do say like 3 by 3 or something like that. Not necessarily a square, but do something along this lines. Oh, this doesn't quite add up. Let's see. Right here. Maybe that's a little bit closer. Something like that. Okay, cool. It's a little bit wobbly there, but that's okay. All right, so now that we got that in place and we have this divided, what we're going to do now is actually, I want you to find a commonly used object or an object that is kind of resembles culture or stuff like that. So I chose to do a skeleton just because I'm super into anatomy and stuff like that. So I did this little guy up. So what you're going to do is just draw a design that is going to fit into these parameters here. Do it on a scrap piece of paper, so you're not actually doing it on the main one, because we're going to actually be copying this over and over again. So once you get something like this, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our trusty light box like so. I'm going to turn this guy on. There you go, get that nice and bright. And what we're going to do here is going to copy it over. I already know what it's going to look like, so what I'm probably going to do is just do it in marker, just to speed up time in the process. But if you want, you can go over it in pencil first and then go over top of it with a marker to really make that pop. All right, so I'm going to try to keep it consistent, like so. Get my marker out, and then I'm just going to trace over this. Now this is going to be a bit of a process because we're going to have to do it so many times. So keep that into consideration when actually designing. If you want to simplify it so the process is a little bit quicker and you're not spending all this time on super fine details, you're more than welcome to do that. There you go. I kind of drew the skeleton to be a little bit happier, like this. I go over. All right, and then we got to do all the ribs. Make sure we're really showing those and leaving enough room, because when we color it, we want to make sure that we can fit it in between those spaces, like so. All right. It's also good for camera too, to see the Sharpie mark really bold and prominent, as opposed to just drawing with pencil first. So it's up to you. If you're feeling confident and you want to just go Sharpie first, since you are tracing over the lines, it should not be a problem. So you can close these off if you want to. I didn't in my reference. And then this is where that shoulder goes. All right, so we got one down, and again, we're going to move it over. So Andy Warhol's process was actually silkscreen. So he already had the design on a screen, and then what he did is he used ink to actually copy it over, and he got a exact replica. So I'm drawing it over and over again, so they're not going to be exact because some lines are going to be a little bit different. It'd be really hard to get it exactly unless I was like really focusing and trying to make it perfect, but there's going to be little inconsistencies here and there. But with silkscreen, it's going to be perfect every time, and you can apply different colored inks and stuff into different areas within that same image, like so. So we're just going over the lines here, just closing them up. All right, almost done the second one here. All right, on to the next one. So this is a little bit of a process, especially if you're watching me do it, but at the same time, it is kind of relaxing and meditative, just copying this image over and over again. Especially this happy little skeleton. But yeah, but at home though, when you're picking your object, you can do something that is an object that is every day in your household. So again, you can go into your pantry or where you keep your food and some of your favorite snacks and stuff. If you really love chocolate chip cookies, you can draw the picture of the box and replicate it a bunch of times. Something that resonates with you. All right. So we're getting there. We're almost halfway there. That didn't take too long at all. There we go. I closed this one off on the other one, so I'm just taking a look at my other references, seeing what's happening. I'm also using a landmark for the placement, so I see that the bottom part here has always been touching, so I'm trying to keep that consistent throughout. You don't have to, but again, just so, see this bottom portion right here is pretty close to touching the bottom of the edge, so I'm trying to keep that as consistent as possible. There we go. And I'm thinking for this demonstration, I'm probably going to do different colors from the demo piece and stuff. I might try to stick closer to the Warhol colors, and we'll talk about why they work and why they're so effective at what they do. None of the colors in pop art are muted. They're really vibrant and saturated, and this really is going to stick out. Another artist that was pretty prolific during the pop art movement during that phase was Roy Lichtenstein, and he focused on actual comic books. So he would take excerpts from certain comic books and blow them up on a grand scale. And he also explored themes of appropriation and stuff, and this is because of this mass media and access to this culture. So that's some of the stuff he was more focused on, was more the comic era. All right. But again, comic books are still mass produced and sold and printed multiple times. So that is the central theme that they were exploring. There we go. So we're making headway here. We're almost there. I closed off, I see, on this one, so I might actually close off on all the other ones too. And again, I don't need to trace that. We'll just quickly close off that one mark, like so. All right. Now that I'm thinking about it, the rib part, probably could have simplified it a little bit, but we went with that crazy detail. But I think it'll be worth it in the end. Again, I'm trying to keep those lines, leave enough room to actually color in. But this is like speed drawing right now, so as fast as can. All right, the last one. Super close. Animation is another art form where it's like you're drawing things multiple times, and it's a long process, but the end result is really, really cool. So it makes that, it's like a labor of love sort of thing. Oh, I missed the bottom there. All right. You also don't have to do a super thick Sharpie. If you want to do finer tip, you most certainly can. This is just a personal preference to have nice, bold, strong lines. All right. There you go, get that collarbone. Almost there, the ribs there. All right. So there's my 6 skeletons. So we don't need the light box anymore. So let's turn that guy off. What we can do though, we can also fill in this line a bit too. Just because I'll use a ruler actually. That's probably a smarter idea. So let's get rid of this light box here. All right. And I'm just gonna draw a straight line down the middle just so I know where that separation is happening. Just like really lightly, it doesn't need to be super strong. All right, so we have our 6 different skeletons. They're all the same, but a little bit different at the same time. So what we're gonna do is, let's look at Andy Warhol's color relationships now. So something that you can see here is that they separate it has a nice bit of balance. The hair in Marilyn Monroe is yellow, yellow, yellow on all three of these, but at the same time, they're not squished together. So what I mean by that is we don't have Marilyn Monroe's hair yellow here and then also yellow here. There's a bit of a balance when it comes to that, where it's yellow, and it goes yellow up, and then these three are all kind of different colors. So they're separating, and it's not being the same all. The same thing with the colors, as far as like we have the red here and then the red background here, orange here, orange here. Then we have the two blues on top. So there is a nice sense of balance to actually picking the colors. So that's something that we want to keep in mind with our actual piece. So I'm going to get out a big thing of, what's it called? Pastels here. I got a big baggie full of them. And then so we're just going to kind of look at colors and kind of place it out this way, like so. So I'm going to focus on, I think, the background for now, and then I will go in to actually color the skeleton later on. So with pastels, it's kind of cool. I'm just going to do like a base layer for now and try to get it along the line the best as possible. Not go too crazy in, like so. So just putting a base coat in. And what I can do with pastels, I can actually smudge them, which is kind of cool and good for backgrounds. That's why I chose something different for this Sunday Family Arts. You can use felts for sure, but we're going to get a really cool effect with the pastels. So trying to stay a little bit out of the lines here. And then what I can do, I'm going to get messy. So I suggest getting another piece of paper. Let's see if I can grab one here. Paper like this, and then put your hand on it so that way we're not actually smudging anything of value here. So I'm just gonna use my finger as a smudge tool and smudge around. Again, we can go in and fill this color a little bit more if we want to, but we just did that base like so. So that gives a really beautiful red, or kind of a, what's it called? A little bit of purple and pinkish in there, actually. There we go. I'm making sure to use multimedia paper just because it's a little bit thicker. If you're going to use like a regular cardstock or regular paper, like printer paper, you might have your paper kind of bending on you when you don't want it to. Something like this. All right. So we're making progress. Could be blended in more, but again, you can always go back and do that. I think that's pretty good for now. I'm going to move on, I think, to the next color pretty quickly. Let's get this top portion. Get messy with it. Doesn't have to be super clean or anything like that. All right. So I'm going to keep that color on the side for now, just in case I want to use it again. So let's put it on the side here, like so. All right. So a color that strongly contrasts this red is this blue. So I'm going to keep that in mind and put the blue right beside that red, like so. And again, just going in with the first kind of coat, so to speak. There you go. And I'm going to save the skeletons for last because we can actually pick our color relationships depending on how we feel about it. So the background first. All right, I think that's a pretty good base. And then again, I'm going to actually try to maybe use a different finger because we are going to get some red in there. I'm using a separate piece of paper on the side just to kind of get my hands. As you can see, there is a little bit of red that's showing up in there. Let's try to get that blue a little bit stronger there. Some pastels will blend better than others, depending on kind of the quality of the pastel or where you get them from. So that's something to keep in mind too. So that red was definitely blending a little bit more. So I just have that pastel in my hand just in case I need to add a little bit more to it. And that way I can kind of blend it together like so. There we go. So just going in one more time. Just blending that in super nicely. Also, one thing is that you're going to have a border, which is the red here and the blue. So if you're actually blending them together, you might get a nice soft transition, which might be actually kind of cool. So definitely embrace that if that starts happening in yours. All right. So that blue is almost down there. And then just using my hands as the tool. All right, so we got a nice kind of blue that's happening now. So the next color, let's see if we can find, we could do maybe an orange or something. Like so. I think this one's gonna blend really nicely. These thicker ones usually do. So let's do a nice strong orange color. Definitely like how this one feels. All right. And again, I'm choosing colors that are really saturated, really bright. If you were to do, say, like a regular painting and stuff, sometimes oversaturation is a bit too much. You want to dull your colors a little bit just so they kind of blend in together and unify. But with pop art, that's a different story. Pop art is grabbing the viewer's attention and saying, hey, look at me. So we want to make sure that it's really bright. It's definitely going to stick out of a room. In another gallery setting. I'm going to try to use a different finger. Again, that blue kind of snuck in there. Almost using a different finger for each one if I can. Don't have to be. But yeah, this one blends really nicely. All right. Let's move that blue to the side a bit. So it is your personal preference which material you choose to use. Felt is definitely less messy than the oil pastel, but the oil pastel is really fun to use. It's a fun tool to actually blend. And if you want to, you can actually do gradients with oil pastel, which is actually pretty nice. So whatever you feel comfortable with, definitely try that out. It's definitely a more solid orange than some of the other ones. Okay, so moving on. I think we're gonna do a yellow, and I'm gonna separate again. So the orange is here. The yellow is pretty strong to orange, so I'm gonna move it over here. So let's do this one like a nice bright yellow. Again, just doing the outside like this. That's already looking really strong. Really like the look of that. All right. And again, if you don't want to blend it, if you just want to go hard on the oil pastel, that's another option too. You totally don't need to. I'm sure the orange is actually not going to be too bad, so I might use the same orange finger. Yeah, it's a little bit in there, but that's okay. All right. Now we're starting to blend that yellow together as much as we can. Again, we can blend a little bit with that red on top. Like so. And that's really starting to come together. All right, 2 more colors for the background. So let's see. Let's do, what's a color that we haven't done yet? You know what, we could totally do a green. That might be kind of cool. Let's do a green. Let's see what that looks like. All right. So we'll just put in this green here. This one's a bit tougher. This one's not as soft as the other oil pastel, so this one might be a little harder to blend, but we'll give it a go. See what it looks like. All right. Make sure when you're doing this to keep the colors that you've already used on the side, because we are going to go back and use them a bit later for the skeleton, and we're gonna mix and match almost. So make sure you're keeping them aside. All right, something like that. Do you know what? I'm gonna use my thumb for the green. Hopefully, yeah, this one is definitely a bit tougher to blend in, but that's okay. What I'm gonna do again is substitute and try to add more of that pastel to give it a little bit of a help. Yeah, this one's definitely tougher to blend in. Again, you'll have some pastels that work better than others, so just keep that in mind. So I'm just going over it as much as I can, trying to fill it. All right. I think that's as good as we're gonna get for the green, but that's okay. So then we need one more color, and so let's see what we don't have already. That's kind of more like a purple. I wonder if we have a strong red. Let's maybe try this red. That's pretty similar. Let's see if I can find a different one. It's a little bit better. This one's really nice and soft. I really like how this one feels. Much better. All right, let's get this red in here. Red's such a prominent color. It's one of my favorites because it's so powerful and strong when used in art pieces. All right. Just making sure we can get around the sides here. Again, trying to get as close to the skeleton as possible, but not actually touching. All right. I'm really glad we chose that final color because that one really stands out. I will use my first finger because it's pretty similar to the color that I had before. Yeah, this one blends really nicely too. And again, blend it with the orange if you can. There you go. Get that edge there. A little bit inside the skeleton, that's okay. We'll color it with something different though. All right, that should be good. So now we have our base color and we're ready to color the inside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look and kind of use the opposites. So for example, I have this orange here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use a blue color instead for the inside of the skeleton. So I'm gonna go in like this. So try to be careful because what will happen is if you put your oil pastel over the marker, it's going to kind of dull it a little bit. So what I'm trying to do to the best of my ability is just trying to avoid the lines if possible. It's definitely going to be a little bit harder to do some of the other ones. Like so. So I'm going to fill this in. And then we also want a secondary color with that as well. So what I might do is fill that in just a bit, but I want to pick out the opposite colors that are going to go with the skeleton. So what I'm doing is doing all the bones one color, and then I'm probably going to choose behind the skeleton, or all that extra negative space, which is all the white that's still in the picture, and I'm going to do that a different color. Again, this is the shoulder blade, so that will be blue as well. Something like that. And then this guy here, we can't forget. So there you go. So that one's blue. Let's do the blue one. We can make him orange. Let me see. We also need the red too. Let's do the red on the green guy here. Oh, I think this is the what's it called? This guy over here that we're using. But that's okay. I still think it's going to work pretty well. All right. So again, I'm going to do all the bones pretty quickly. Shoulder blade. And all these guys. So you can definitely be more careful than I'm being right now. I'm just trying to speed along the process. There you go. That really stands out from that green. That really pops out, which is pretty cool. Let's see. I think for the yellow one, we're going to do green. Green for this guy. Like so. And you don't have to use the same colors that you already use. It's just kind of helpful because then you don't have to repick stuff. But if you want to use different colors, like say like a darker blue that I don't have in, or say like a purple or something like that, you're more than welcome to do that. But we still want to use bright colors. We don't want to use like browns or grays or anything like that. There we go. And then now we're going to do the shoulder blade. All right, so that's the green guy. So we're making progress here. Let's do... I might do... For the blue, I want to do yellow for the blue one here. Wow, that looks really cool. Kind of like a gold skull. All right, so let's just speed up this process too. Also notice that how the colors blend too. When I went over the blue with the yellow, it made that green. Plus, that's something to keep in mind as well. It's kind of a cool effect. All right. So we got two more. So we got the blue. We can mix and match. Do you know what? I might do green for the... Oh, no, we already did green. Let's think about it. I might choose a different color, actually. Let's do... I kind of want a darker blue. Let's see if I can find one. That red. It's all the way in the bottom of my package here. There you go. Let's see if this looks good. It's definitely going to stand out for sure. It's a really strong color, but again, trying not to go over too many of the lines. Like so. These smaller ones are definitely easier to do the little rib cage here. Just because I have a little bit more control in where those marks are going to go in. Like so. Alright, that's the blue one. And then one more. A color that we haven't used already. Let's do an orange. Let's make this one orange. So I encourage you to mix and match your colors, see what works well together. There's definitely certain colors that have this really good color relationships. So I encourage you to go and look at that. You can also look at a common thing is like different palettes. A lot of people will actually put together palettes of colors that kind of harmonize and look good together. Go, and then the rib cage. All right, and then we can do an accent color for the negative space, or we can leave it white, but it's totally up to you. So I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna leave the rib cage white, but I'm going to color the eyes. So for the eyes, let's do red, blue, and then the green eyes might be cool. Something like that. The blue, we can do maybe like a yellow eye. Something like that. For this one, I'm going to do, we already did green eyes, but maybe we'll do orange. There we go. Do blue eyes. Done orange eyes, which is one that we have not done yet. I'm trying to think. We haven't done a dark blue eye. Maybe we'll do dark blue eye on this guy. And then for this guy here, what I'm thinking of is probably light blue, actually. Let's try that. That looks good with the orange. All right, there you go. So let's just clear the room area here. So this is your own very own pop art project here. So I encourage you to try it with different objects and see the different results. Try it with different materials, so use felts and are also oil pastels. See which one you like and kind of experiment and have fun with it. There is something really relaxing and meditative about doing the same object over and over, and you get a really cool effect. Put it up in your room or put it up so it can be on display. Make sure to sign it as well. And let's see what you come up with. There's some really cool stuff that you can do and explore the colors. That's the main thing about this exercise, is to play with color relationships, play how they respond to one another and so forth. Alrighty guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. My name is Austin Kwasinski and thank you for doing some pop art with me. I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Take care.